These my dollars make it hurt.
Welcome back to a Week 8 lineup edition of the Deep Cover Podcast. I'm your host, Kerry Stevenson. Again, shout out to my co-hosts, Mike Crawford, Chris Aguilera. If you're a new listener, do us a huge favor. Obviously, like this video, subscribe to the channel. We're trying to bring great content in a lot of different areas to you, and those things help us a great deal as we're trying to, grow this channel. So do that for us on the way in. I'm going to start briefly by going over last week's lineup. I did some good things. AJ Brown going off for 30 obviously was a great thing. Stafford did his thing, had a strong game, but my kind of pivot play of going away from Cup and trying to get different within that stack and going with Woods and Deshaun Jackson obviously didn't work. Woods had 15, but Deshaun Jackson didn't get those deep shots that we needed to kind of put us over the top. So that one hurt. The Chiefs offense just strangely falling on their face against Tennessee. That hurt us because that doomed Daryl Williams. Ended up with just 50, TD-less yards, 3 catches. So he ended up with 8 points. Obviously that's not going to help us. Solid double-digit performances, throughout the lineup. James Conner, Dallas Goedert, DJ Moore, Cardinals D. But ultimately, really just wasn't enough if that initial kind of stack of Stafford. You don't get that right, and you kind of go against the grain to try to get different, and other people kind of go with the Cup, then you're kind of dead at that point. So something we'll put on the drawing board and try to get back to it for week 8. So believe it, the total for the lineup ended up being 132. So not something that's going to get it done. But we're going to put that in the past and move forward and try to get back in the winning ways for week 8. So I like to start it off, try to identify my stack, my primary stack, as far as a quarterback and who I want to kind of team them up with. Looking at this slate, a lot of main guys off the slate, and pretty much everybody's gonna play the same 4 guys. Josh Allen, Matt Stafford, Tom Brady, Jalen Hurts. Those are gonna be in so many lineups this week. And I'll be playing those guys too some, but for the purpose of this lineup, I wanted to take the opportunity to kind of zig when everybody else is zagging. So I'm going to do so with a guy that I've been, talking up on Twitter, a situation I've been talking up on Twitter, and that's Teddy Bridgewater. Coming up, looking at the Broncos schedule, they're going to have to put up some points in these games. And so this is a team that uh, as far as weapons go, they have one of the best groups, in the league. And now they're getting Jerry Judy back this week. They're getting the athletic backup tight end back in Alberto back this week. And it's perfect timing because they're facing a Washington football team, predominantly a zone latent defense that's been, giving it up. Um, the most DK points per game to quarterbacks given up is that Washington football team defense. So going Teddy Bridgewater here. Also, that Washington football team, they show up in the run game. They're a team that can defend the run. So I think that'll help us in this situation too. The Broncos, they like to run the football, but I think they're not a team that can just full out impose their will in the running game. So I like Washington's chances of being able to hold them in check and maybe push a few more attempts Teddy's way. So really like Teddy as an under radar quarterback play this week. Of course, I'm going to stack him. So I'm going to lock in this stack with Cortland Sutton. He's looked tremendous coming off of that injury. Teddy's giving him chances to win downfield and at the catch point. So really like going with Cortland Sutton. Think that's too cheap of a price for his overall upside. So go ahead and plug these 2 guys in, Teddy and Sutton. And I want to double stack here. My first inclination was to go with Noah Fant, but I really like going um with Judy here. Decided on that. I know it's a bit of a risk. It's his first game coming back off injury. But it sounds like there was a possibility that he could have came back the week before. So to me, that puts me a little bit more at ease as it pertains to potential pitch count situations. So I think we could get full go for Judy this week, and he's a guy that in training camp and in preseason, him and Teddy seemed to have that rapport, and he was looking like he was going to be the number one target with Teddy. And that first game before he got hurt, he had 7 targets starting off, 6 catches. So go ahead and plug Judy into the lineup here. That's our double stat there. I'm making a decision not to run it back with a Washington player. McLaurin, I'm not crazy about the matchup, and I think he's a little expensive. He's somebody that I would maybe do in a different lineup if I wasn't already going against the grain, because I think he's a guy that contrarian kind of spend up, because people are going to look at that price tag and feel like it's a few hundred too many. But we don't have to do that here because I'm already going against the grain with Teddy. So and going with this stack. So um, thought about him, thought about Ricky Seals Jones, but I have somebody with a little more upside in mind at that tight end spot. And so again, I'm choosing not to force it with the run back. So that's my reason in there. Wasn't crazy about anybody else there as far as players in that Washington football uh, team lineup. Maybe McKissick, but um, where's the upside there? I don't think this is going to be a game that Denver comes out there and blows their doors off, and all of a sudden McKissick's got like 10 targets kind of thing. So not really seeing the upside there. Going against that, go ahead and start plugging in these running backs. First, I'm going to do so with Nick Chubb. Sounds like a guy that's going to fly under the radar this week, but he's going to be a favorite of mine. Shout out to Al Smizzle. He pointed out the splits with Kareem Hunt in and out as far as Nick Chubb goes. With Kareem Hunt out, Nick Chubb is averaging 4 targets a game. And we know that was one of the concerns as far as Chubb's overall fantasy upside was. He wasn't a guy that's involved in the passing game. But if we can get 4 targets from him, um, on top of what he does as a runner, I'll take that any day of the week. I know the Steelers are a top 10 running back defense, but for me, this Cleveland running game is bulletproof with what they bring to the table as far as scheme, offensive line. I think Chubb could stumble in the stadium and put up 80 yards rushing. So really like Chubb this week. So we're going to go ahead and plug him into the lineup. I'm going in the wrong direction here. There we go, Chubb. So we're going to plug Chubb in. Other running back spot, I'm going right back to a spot that everybody went to last week and it didn't hit, but the situation looked good. So I'm going back to it. That's Daryl Henderson. Uh, Obviously, he didn't hit last week, but everything as far as the situation looks good. 88% of the snaps, got all the touches, and he's just too cheap for his role in arguably the best offense in football with the Rams. So, like his chances of being a guy that could possibly, score multiple TDs. So, going Daryl Henderson there. Obviously, we plugged in 2 wide receivers. I'm gonna finish finishing up this wide receiver spot with a guy I went with last week. And that's DJ Moore. Sounds like he could potentially fall under the radar this week. And much like Chubb, he's going to be a staple of what I'm doing this week in lineups. I said this last week, and I'm gonna say it again. Without CMC in the lineup, it feels like DJ Moore is a lot for 10 targets. He's just one of the primary all over the field, and he's a guy that has the kind of talent to win all over the beating teams down the field, beating teams at the catch point. He's a special talent. So I'm gonna always be inclined to bet on special talents when teams aren't when people aren't as interested in playing them. Going DJ Moore there. Tight end, I'm gonna try to kind of right one of my wrongs from a redraft perspective. Um, Tight end was a pretty straightforward position this year. There were guys at the top, Kelsey and Waller, who I love that you had to spend the draft capital for, and I was very willing to do that. After that, there was Kittle, which I didn't have in that tier, um, but he's a guy that a lot of people liked. I wasn't as high on him. But for me, it was Kelsey, Waller, or just spin down. A lot of mid range guys that I wasn't crazy about spending the draft capital it took, especially when I didn't think that they were too far ahead of some of these flyers. Now, obviously, some of these flyers, probably a lot of these flyers didn't pan out. But one that definitely did pan out before he got hurt was pretty clear, and it was just so obvious there. I can't believe that it was something I missed. If there's so much uncertainty, why not just go with the guy that has the most touchdown upside, the guy that has multiple touchdown upside per game, the guy has as much touchdown upside as any tight end in the league? That's Rob Gronkowski. So I'm plugging him in, a guy that's got two touchdown upside whenever he walks on the field. Playing in this Brady offense. I'm plugging him in. He's coming off injury. There's probably some snap concerns because they do have tight ends like OJ Howard. They can eat snaps in line. They have Cameron Brate, who obviously they can use as a guy they can split out and do some things. But I'm going to take my chances with Gronkowski at 4,600 here. That Mike Evans matchup with Marshawn Lattimore could, prove as, kind of an aspect that can help us. I don't make a too big of a deal about those cornerback wide receiver matchups, but this is a long history of Marshawn Lattimore being able to kind of hold Mike Evans in check. And Marshawn Lattimore, just from a stylistic standpoint, he fits as a player that can defend the player of Mike Evans' ilk. So, if he's able to hold Mike Evans in check, especially if he's able to do so in the red zone, that'll push some more targets down there Gronkowski's way. I think this Saints defense can probably hang with this Bucks offense a little bit. Maybe do some things, but this offense is just too talented. Brady's too efficient, it's too good. They're going to move the ball. They're going to score points, and hopefully, Gronkowski is on the winning end of that from a scoring standpoint. So I'm going to move ahead to the flex. Flex, I'm going to go with another popular guy. That's a Michael Pittman Jr. I can afford to do that because of some of the things we've done so far in this lineup. Pittman, I'm not crazy about his overall target ceiling. I'm not crazy about the pace of this game because this is probably going to be a slow play game. But I am in love with the matchup. This is a Titans cornerback group that was shaky at best coming in, and now they've gotten hit by the injury bug with a couple of guys. And so Michael Pittman stands out as a huge advantage as far as going up against this cornerback group. I love his chances of being able to make a few big plays at the catch point and, come out with a strong day, especially at that price. Love Pittman there. And then at defense, this one was tough for me, man. Under 3K, it was tough for me to kind of identify a defensive play that I loved. Honestly, even liked, looking at the way these matchups kind of break out as far as what I look for in defenses. So I decided to take a little bit of a risk, and I'm going with the Patriots defense, going up against this, talented Chargers offense. These teams faced off last year, and Bill Belichick was able to hold Herbert in check. And so I expect, I don't expect the same. I expect this Chargers offense to put up points, but I also expect them to play at a fast pace, which they've continuously done. And I expect them to drop back a lot, which is, some of the things that we're looking for. Give this Patriots defense opportunities to get sacks. I think they are maybe top 10 in sacks, somewhere in that range. I think 15 sacks on the season. Um, so, this is something we want. This is a game environment that I like. If there is not, just an obvious play, give me the potential shootout, and this could be a shootout. I mean, we'll see. But with the drop backs, I like the Patriots' chances of maybe getting a few sacks and maybe getting a turnover or two. You saw the Ravens defense a couple weeks ago was able to cause some confusion with Herbert and force him to be off of his game a little bit and get a sack or two. Also, the Chargers have faced some injuries on their offensive line, so that's a unit that's not playing as well as it did to start the season. So that's another factor I like. So at 2,800 again, I don't expect this to be some kind of great shootout. I mean, I'm sorry, great shutout kind of matchup, but um, compared to some of the other things I saw in this range, I like the environment of the game. So going with the Patriots there to close out that lineup. So that closes out week 8. Thanks again for checking me out. Again, like, subscribe, review, and get in the comments. Tell me what you think about this lineup. What you would do differently. And good luck to everybody in week 8. Go out there and get you some bread. Peace, and I'll see you in week 9.